Hello and welcome back everyone. In this video I'll explain how to write the result section. So the number of paragraphs usually depends on the study design and mainly on your results. So if you have more results, you'll write a longer result section. If you have less results, you'll write a shorter result section. So you want to include the demographic data, age, sex, BMI, comorbidities, and other essential factors. So most students, or when people start doing research, they might ask, okay, everything I will put into the tables and the figures. So what should I write exactly? So you want to write the summary and the big picture and the interesting, common, and rare variables. So for example, instead of writing this gender was like male were this percentage and female were this percentage, you will talk about the most common gender in your study, for example, the most common complication, and etc. Do not add citations here. Usually the result section doesn't have any citation like the method section. Most of the citation happen in the introduction and in the discussion section. You want to create the tables and figures first because this will make it much easier to write the result section. I'll show you later how. So you rely more on your tables and you go chronologically, and I'll also explain this in the example later. So you want to use past tense here, found, showed, had, because these are what you found already. So here's an example. So here, as you can see, I've had approximately 3, 4, 5 paragraphs in total. So let's show you the tables that were published and how they correlate with the result section that I've wrote. So in the first paragraph, I talked about the table 1. So table 1 is participants' characteristic. So we had the campus, from which campus, the gender, the GPA as well, the level, if they were freshman or senior, the phase of study, and the prior research publication. As you can see here in the student characteristic, instead of saying 237 were from Riyadh and 227 were from Jeddah, I just mentioned in total how many participants filled this survey and the response rate. Then I mentioned the most common thing. The majority were male, most of them were from the Riyadh campus, most of them were fourth year students, and most of them had a GPA average between 4.5 to 5. Most of them were from the preclinical phase, and only a few of them had a prior research publication. So instead of stating each one and make it repetitive, no, I would just mention on the most common things or the less common, for example, things that I find interesting. So just a summary of the entire thing. And this makes it much easier for the reader to see what are the most important points that you have found. So if you go into table 2, I had a larger table 2, so I divided it into 3 sections, as you can see. And in here, I only included 1 subsection, but I included 3 paragraphs. So each paragraph does the same exact thing with the variables found. However, here we had B values as well. So you want to mention which one was statistically significant. As you can see here, we had 2 significant values, and which ones were not as well. And not necessarily, so you just want to talk about the major things as well. So here we talk about the survey, and we talk about the most common things, as you can see, most students, significant difference, and you can mention the p-values between parentheses. You also want to describe or state which table it had. So in table 2 it shows all of those variables. So you just want to talk about the big picture things. You don't want to state each variable. So you don't want to say that 91 participants disagreed to this, and 91 were neutral, and the majority 318 agreed. No, you just want to be very general and specify the things that you want, that you think are interesting to the readers. Okay? So again, in the last paragraph, as you can see here, it was a different section. So if you go to this figure, instead of mentioning everything, I try to mention the most influential factors, the top 3, and the least influential factors, the least 3. As you can see, then I mentioned that everything, all the factors represented in figure 1. So you want to do this, and it really simplify everything. I think once you write or once you design the tables, it makes it much easier to just write the result section instead of having the data and not analyzing it. Once you have clean data and you can input them in tables and figures, makes it much easier to write the result section. So regarding the tables format, so I have put an example here on how you can design the tables. So again, here how you can design a table simply in Word. However, one thing that I wanted to highlight here is most journals, they require a specific format. Not necessarily all of them, but this is something that I prefer to do. So you can go here. So you want to format most of your tables like this to make it easier for journal to copy it into their format. It's not necessarily, you don't need to necessarily do it like this, but this is something that I prefer to do. And some researchers, they also recommend doing it as well. So always try to see based on the journal what they prefer again. And I think that's it for this. Best of luck.